I didn't see the
Hello,
5.
everybody.
Sorry.
What's that?
I didn't see the countdown. I wasn't ready.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do our own countdown. This is our first episode back from the off season. It's all right. It's gonna have some hiccups. 5, 4, 3. Welcome everybody to another episode of the Studs and Scrubs Hockey Podcast. We have been away enjoying a nice summer break, and I am one of your co-hosts, Stucoffee. Got my coffee ready to go. And we have with me, as always, rocking a Studs and Scrubs podcast t-shirt, Nickstrom, and his son, Eli, if you watched before, has been with us for a few episodes. Boys, how are we doing today?
Good. Pretty good.
He said boys, I guess. Doing good. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll start with boys and we'll go with man.
I just figured facial hair would distinguish, who's who.
Well, Eli and I have got the same look going. We're clean shaven. We're clean shaven on top.
Yeah.
I do have a little too much because it covers up the Studs and Scrubs on my shirt. So,
I don't think I've ever seen your beard that long.
This is the longest it's ever been.
That is full blown. What's the old TV show was real popular? That's a Duck Dynasty beard.
Duck Dynasty, yeah. So no real reason I did it other than got busy and lazy and didn't have time to keep up on it, and it just kept growing. And now I have a couple of Spartan races coming up, so I'm kind of keeping it for that because I don't look like I should be running Spartan races because I don't have the muscles. So I figured the beard kind of evens that look out a little bit. You know, if I were to shave and then try to run these Spartan races, I would look real out of place. No muscles in the beard. All right. No beard and muscles. Okay. But if I didn't have either, yeah.
Got to come in. It's like the Viking warrior vibe.
Yes.
It's the distraction. People are coming in. Oh, don't mess with that guy.
Exactly. Intimidation factor.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I like that.
Anyway, but after that, here in the next couple weeks, I'll probably trim it up a little bit. But
yeah, well, I do have to push back a tiny bit just out of support as a buddy that Nick's saying, oh, my beard's gotten long, a little bit lazy. Opposite. Nick's been crazy busy recently. I don't know if you wanted to get into any of that or just skip over it, but...
I guess lazy probably isn't the right word. Yes, I have been super busy. I'm still with the Park District, but I took another position. Kind of a lateral move, better hours, better family situation, and did that. But then also went and got a part-time job or two, and just kind of been working to pay for my daughter's braces and different things. So school, we got a new van. Eli's playing hockey, so that's expensive, you know. But no, we're just knocking a few things out. It's just for a short time. So here in another, actually, like a week and a half or so, I'll be quitting one of those jobs, and then it'll be a little more free time for me. So, but good. Just crazy busy, hectic schedule, but did it while my kid's schedule wasn't as busy. But now we're getting into hockey season coming up, and he's doing band, so lots of things going on, but it's good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to shift over since you brought it up, Eli, so you're not sitting there just waiting for us to stop talking. You've had pretty good adventures too, right? I mean, you're at the high school now. Aren't you a sophomore now?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
So how are you liking football season started, right? So you're doing marching band, correct? How's that been?
It's been okay. We had a game last night. It was very hot. Extremely hot.
Yeah, I think yesterday was in the 90s.
Yeah. And we practiced for like 2 hours before we even got on the field. So.
Really?
Yeah.
They're working on their formations and, all the things. So.
I've seen it before now that I live down in Florida, that it's like you'll go to Disney World sometimes and see bands marching, and they're usually high schools doing their marching band stuff, and it's kind of cool. They get to go to Disney World, and it's a common thing, I guess. I didn't know about it. And because I was working with people that grew up down here, they, of course, will all do it. All the schools local in Florida will go at some point. And they were talking about that it's like you almost always go in the summer because it's the off season or whatever for regular school activities. And so it's fun and it's an honor or whatever, but you have to wear those uniforms and they're hot and they're kind of itchy. And I was thinking about it watching them, and somebody I worked with said, "Oh yeah, we had a kid just collapse mid-March because it's 105 in Orlando and you're walking the whole
Yeah.
parade that the Minnie and Mickey people do. You walk the whole thing and play, and all the
Yeah.
parents are there. So you
So
go like school after school after school after school. There's a dozen of them, and I'm like, sounds fun, but also kind of horrible, like both.
yeah, Eli will be doing that with his band in 2027
Yep.
Oh,
over
really?
his spring break.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nice.
yeah.
So maybe they do spring break. Maybe that's when I was there. I don't know.
So, but
Okay, very
yeah.
cool. Hockey starting soon. Have you done practices already and all that?
No, we've not. Uh, all the rink stuff has been behind, so
Not all of the
well,
rink
some
stuff
of
is
it.
fine.
Um, so our first practices will be kind of the start of October, but we're gonna have to start in Decatur.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to
Right,
this
because
next center.
the rink is still under construction.
Yes. They'll have
Yes.
ice
So
mid-October, but they're starting to practice before then, and so they're going to Decatur to do that.
yes. So just a reminder for all of our listeners and people who maybe are new, Nick worked at the ice rink at the local ice rink for years, and they're changing the method, which I guess is common all over the U.S., right, of how you cool down the concrete slab to keep the ice cool. Not that we have to get into all that, but it's a
Yeah,
huge
so
construction project.
we had to do a rink conversion because we were using R22, which is being phased out. So it's harder to get, more expensive. It's not environmentally friendly. So in order to do that, um, normally you can just change that, but we have a direct system. Sorry, this is boring for a lot of people. We have a direct system, so it goes under the floor of the concrete, so all the pipes and everything needed to
Yeah.
be replaced for that. If you have a sand floor, it would have been a lot easier. You just melt the ice, dig up the sand, dig up the pipes, change them out, put the sand back, you're going at it. But we had concrete slabs, so they had to be busted out, build the floor from scratch again, new pipes, everything, pour
Wow.
concrete, let it cure, do all the things. So
No,
it's
you
a
know
huge
what?
project.
I'm going to push back a little bit, Nick. I don't think that's boring. Some people might be bored by it, but
Yeah,
a lot of people don't understand how an ice rink works at all.
yeah,
Period. They
that's
don't
true.
realize or think about it. And I mean, I guess if you had to, if somebody said, explain how this works, they might be able to figure it out. But you don't think about it
Yeah,
unless you. I played hockey my whole life. I didn't really think much about it. You just show up. The regular people go ice skating one time a year on a date.
right.
You just
Yeah,
show up and it's ice. You don't think about it. And literally, just while you were talking, I didn't know that one of the methods was no concrete. I thought there was always concrete.
yeah. You can have a
You can
sand
just have
floor.
sand and you just put the water on top of the sand?
Yeah, so what it would be is you would just have a lot of sand and you
Yeah,
would kind of water it. So it's like, how when you go to the beach and the
saturated.
water closer to
Yeah,
the sand's closer to the water, it's more compact. It's harder and denser, and you don't sink down in it as much. So you would have to kind of flood the rink before you were even trying to get ice on it. You would, obviously start to cool it down and chill it, but you would want that sand to be wet and compact so
yep.
that it kind of freezes as well, and would become solid enough then that it starts to hold water, and
Yep.
then that water starts to freeze, and then you
Then
can build your ice
water
on
on
that.
top of that.
Yeah. So there's pros and cons to both. A sand floor isn't always the most level. It can vary a lot. It has its own set of issues, but one of the biggest pros about a sand floor is when you have to do something like this, or if you have a leak somewhere, it's easy to get to.
Mm. Yeah, so maintenance with sand floors probably better,
Yeah.
but consistency of ice maybe varies.
Yes. And like we have two ice rinks at our facility. And so we always take one down in the summertime when we're not as busy. We have a concrete
Yeah.
floor now that we can still have pickleball or concerts, or we've had roller derby. There's been a circus. There's been other things that we can do in that rink because it's a concrete floor. If we took that ice out and it's a sand floor, you can't do anything with it.
Can't do anything. So
So
that's interesting. So then I was just thinking that the NHL is probably always concrete, but when they're doing events, they're not melting ice, they put those insulator pads, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they
Like the
would
Red
just put
Wings
a
and the
floor over
Pistons.
top of it.
Yeah, like the Pistons play at the Little Caesars, so they
Yeah.
can't melt the ice. They got to just build the floor on top.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways,
So,
didn't mean to get too distracted with that, but we're doing pretty
no,
good. We're
it's
10
good.
minutes in here. If you've
Yeah.
listened before, we're going to try to keep shorter episodes this year, partially because schedule changes and partially because we're just trying to hone in and focus our pod a little bit better. If you've listened before, we're focused on fantasy hockey and like recommending players to add for the week and players to drop for the week. If you've never played fantasy hockey, give it a shot. I recorded a solo episode that explained kind of the way that we do our rules in our fantasy league. So if you listen in and we say, this guy's not doing good, drop him for this week and pick up this guy over here. He's a free agent. He's amazing. Get him on your team. And then every week you have to add and drop, right, to be successful. We're basing that off of the way we do our point system. So give that episode a watch. I made two. I made a long one that explained why we made changes and how that affects fantasy. And I made a short one, like for me, it was really short. It was 5 minutes long that just said, here's our point structure. And
Nice.
I'm going to put those out there before the season starts, probably with these. And
Yeah.
then that way, if anyone wants to play along or whatever, maybe down the road, years to come, hopefully, like people actually watch this podcast and say, you idiots, I added that guy you told me to add and he sucks. So that's why we got studs and scrubs. We're adding studs, we're dropping scrubs, and we're going to try to keep the episodes a little shorter this season to just stay to the main
Yeah.
point. Because we love hockey. We like, obviously, the maintenance of hockey, the NHL. We could talk on and on and on and on about news happening around the league. I'm not going to tell you anything new that an insider hasn't already broken. You know what I mean? So we're going to kind of stay in our lane and try to keep it a little shorter this season. With that being said, are we ready to just dive in and get into a little bit of the hockey? I think Eli
Let's
has
do
more
it.
notes than I have.
Let's do it.
Yep.
We're recording this. Let's see. Today's the 13th. I need to set up our draft day and time. Right now, I'm looking at the first weekend in October. It'll probably be somewhere around there. We'll have to get on, do keepers. My old boss, I believe, won the losers bracket last year, so he gets to determine which slot he would like to draft in. So I need to get that from him. Keepers from everybody. And then I like people to have, a week or two to kind of plan and prep. And if they don't, they at least don't have an excuse to not be at the draft or have at least some sort of strategy. So right now I'm looking at the first weekend in October, somewhere over that. But I don't know exactly when it'll be. But
Perfect. Sounds good to me.
all right. You want to? I know he's actually done some research. I've just kind of
Yeah.
dabbled a little bit in my head with who I think maybe are going to be some studs or scrubs. I got one apiece.
Okay.
So you tell me if you just want me to go, or do we want Eli to start us off, or do
Yeah.
you want to start?
Let's maybe let's throw the ball to Eli. I feel like I
All
was
right.
listening to last season's Christmas episode, and there was at least 10 minutes where we were chit chatting, and Eli's just sitting there like.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't want to cut you out. So you did more research than we did, anyways. I'm sure. So
Yes.
if you want to jump in with something, just one of your topics, go ahead and hit us with it.
All right, I'll start off with the scrub. So this year in fantasy, I have all my picks in the first 8 rounds. I'm not drafting this person, no matter if they're available. I'm not taking them. I don't care.
Wow.
All right.
Okay. I hope he has to draft this player.
I'm
I
not.
hope you guys meet him. You bump into this guy on vacation.
Elias Pettersson.
Which
I'm not-
one?
Whoa.
Vancouver Canuck. Elias Pettersson.
Okay. There are two.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, which one? The expensive one or the cheap one?
Not taking him. Last year had a terrible season. His career worst. 45 points, 15 goals, 30 assists. So there was the JT Miller trade last year. He was traded on January 31st.
Mhm.
From then on through March 10th, Elias Pettersson had 3 points without JT Miller. it had a big effect for quite a while, and then he had a really good stretch at the end of the season. But I think he's going to have the next worst season of his career this year, playing a whole season without JT Miller.
Okay.
So last year, I looked at his rankings. He was not in the top 150 for goals, points, or plus minus, and he was 133rd in the league in assists. So, here I have a list of some players that did worse than or did better than him points wise last year. Uh,
Okay.
I always mess up his name. Alexis Lafreniere, the
Yep.
Rangers guy.
Yeah, Lafreniere
Uh,
or Lafreniere. I don't know how to say it.
yeah, Jake Neighbors, Tyler Bertuzzi, Matthew Coronado, Kyle
My guy
Palmieri,
Tyler.
Jaden Schwartz, Jason Zucker, Matthew Nyes, Ivan Barbashev. They all had more points than Elias Pettersson last year. He was fifth on the Canucks in points, third on the Canucks in assists, and sixth in goals. So, statistically, barely a top five Canuck. So, I will not be
Interesting.
taking him in fantasy this year.
Okay. I like
When
it.
you have him on number 5 on Canucks, is that JT Miller's above him, or was that not even counting him?
I don't remember. It
Yeah,
might
so he
it
might
might have
even
been.
be lower.
Yeah.
Just because Miller got traded, I wasn't sure if you put him on the Canuck roster or the Rangers roster, but that is interesting. I didn't quite realize it was that bad. And now I'm
Yeah.
curious because the whole drama, right? Remember, was JT Miller they're fighting and whatever. It was like, girls in 6th grade, and then they get traded, and Miller does really good in Rangers at first, I think, but then you're saying Pedersen had a stretch with 3 points and all that time. But
Yeah.
then at the end
Over a
of the
month.
season, he got hot at the very end, though. So now I'm
He
curious:
did.
is next season going to be a continuation of that, where it's like now I've
No.
had some time to like let it off my shoulders? Eli says no. It's a
I
low
don't think
season.
so. I don't think
All
I
right.
don't
I like that. I like that because that's a pretty bold prediction. I think most people would say, yeah, last season was weird. They're going to bounce back because the team did bad. He did bad. Everyone did bad. It was just a dumpster fire. I think most people would say, nah, they'll bounce back. So I like that pick hot out of the gate.
All
Nick, you want
right.
to go? Or
I, all right. I'll go with my scrub pick here. And it'll probably be unpopular. It's probably your stud pick, but I think Mitch Marner is going to have a
okay.
down year. Um, yeah, he had a great year last year. He was playing with Austin Matthews, who is going to be one of the best goal scorers of all time when his career is all said and done. And I do see value in change of scenery, and if he's playing somewhere where he wants to play, he's going to be a little loose. But I think that Vegas is just a better all around team. So they're not going to rely on him as much. He's logging a ton of minutes, ton of time with Matthews in Toronto. That Vegas doesn't need that. They don't need him to get 80 assists and 40 goals this year to be successful. So I just think he's going to have a little bit of a drop. And I'm only putting him as a scrub. He's still going to be a great player. I'm not saying that I won't draft Mitch Marner. I'm just curious to see where he's going to be at in these the mock drafts, the pre-draft rankings. How high are people going to have him? How high is Yahoo going to have him? Um, so I don't know that he is going to match wherever he is ranked with that. I personally would probably just put him a little lower. I want a goal scorer anyway. And I mean, I think he'll still put up plenty of points. He could still potentially be, obviously, a point per game player. But if you're going to get someone in round one, let's say, I want someone that's going to be pushing 100 points rather than 80. So
Okay.
that's the only reason I'm calling him a scrub. I think he's still going to be fine.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Just
going to be all right. But I'm not going to bite in the first round for a Mitch Marner, depending on who's there.
yeah.
Like I said, I'm going to pick someone that's more of a goal scorer or someone that can push 100 points. I just think Mitch Marner is going to have less pressure because they're going to be a better team. They're deeper. They got other people that can score. Toronto was just so top heavy that they counted on those guys. And now he's in a place where I don't think that he's going to have to put up the numbers for the team to be as successful. So,
Yeah,
but so
I could see that.
I say scrub, but I don't mean that he's not going to have a great year or
Yeah,
anything. It's
scrub.
just I'm saying that he's probably not, for me, going to be end up where he is ranked at the beginning of the season. I think he'll end the season a little bit lower than that. So
Right. Exactly. And that's a good just caveat of our studs and scrubs is sometimes like, not that Mitch Marner is a scrub player, but you got to
yeah,
think round one of fantasy is the top 12 players in the league. Do you think Mitch Marner is the top 10, let's say, player in the NHL? Maybe. People might think that, but you're thinking of goalies, you're thinking of defensemen, you're thinking of every single position. And the way we do our league is 4 wingers. It doesn't matter if they're right wing or left wing, but a goal scorer is more valuable than an assist playmaker, and a center is probably more valuable than a winger because there's only 2 slots. So if you're looking at, do I take Matthews, McKinnon, or Marner? It's just
yeah,
numbers. Marner just drops
yeah,
out of that rank. He's not there with those guys. He's awesome, but if you think he will have a down year for last year, then it just drops him out of tier 1. He just becomes a tier 2 player. And so I like that analysis from you. I am curious though if because Maple Leafs and the Golden Knights are both so stacked, it's kind of a parallel for him. And it's sort of like it's a new scene, it's a new team, and it takes some time to get going. But when you're playing with Eichel and Stone and stuff, you're going to get the points. He's already played with elite people his whole career. But it's a little weird. I'm curious. I think at the end of the season, he started running the point of the power play, and Toronto did 5 forwards. And the Golden Knights do it with Pietrangelo, but he's hurt. I don't think Pietrangelo is going to play. So I'm curious if they'll try Marner on top and try to play 5 forwards, and he
yeah.
might get a bunch of power play time. I don't know. I mean, he would anyways, but I'm just curious if that might be a fantasy bump. Okay,
Could be.
so moving on. I'll go, but for me this time, I really only have a strong opinion on a stud, so I'm going to go stud. And
Okay.
it's a little obvious, but it's the same situation. Marner is an elite player. You're saying maybe a step back this year. My guy is also a winger, elite player. I think he's going to go even up above what he's done already. Kirill Kaprizov. For me, that's
Yeah.
the stud this year. I think maybe even the Art Ross Trophy winner. He's broken
Okay.
100 points before. Everyone knows he's incredible, but I think that Minnesota is a surprisingly good team. If you look at their roster, they're okay, but I really feel like Minnesota is a little closer to the Red Wings than they are to the Oilers, right? But they go to the playoffs, they become this team because he is that good. Red Wings they have very good players. I think Raymond might someday get to this point, but they don't have a Kaprizov, they don't have a Pasternak, right? And so it's like, I just heard recently, I'm sure you guys heard the news, Kaprizov turned down the biggest contract in the history of the league. And I'm curious on 2 fronts. One, he's playing for that contract, he's playing for that money. That's why last year I thought Marner would have a career year. I think he maybe did. I do believe that players, when they're playing for their contract, have big years. Ederson, Eli just talked about how bad he was last year. The year before that, he was incredible. I think that is when he was playing for his contract year. It's just human nature. They have to prove it, whether they're getting traded or what. Like, you sign that one big contract, you are done for life. You are set for life. Your kids don't need money ever again. And the dude turned down $16 million a year over 8 years, the largest contract in the history of the league. And I'm curious of your guys' opinion. Is he holding out to try to say the salary cap's going up? 16's not enough. I need 18. Or is he just not interested in Minnesota?
I think he wants to go to Detroit. I
Well,
hope
I like
so.
that.
I hope so.
Oh well, if he
You hear
does,
that, Al?
I don't see
Kirill's
Yzerman.
coming over.
I don't see Yzerman opening up the backing up the Brinks truck like that.
Oh, I
But
think he should for Kaprizov, though. Would you do that
well,
if Eiserman
whether
said
he should or
18
not is a
million?
different story as to whether he will or not.
He won't.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
that's a lot of money tied up in one player. I don't know. Initially, that makes me think he doesn't want to be in Minnesota. You are right. Historically, traditionally, people they do play better in contract years. They're trying to play for that big contract. But if he had the biggest one offered ever before, then why? What's he playing for then? What's the he already had that offer.
Right.
Um, so it does kind of sound like maybe he just wants, and maybe it's not anything necessarily against Minnesota. Maybe he just wants a bigger market.
Yes.
I mean, hockey is big in Minnesota, but when you look at the big markets in the league, you're talking Chicago, New York, L.A. Just the bigger cities that have
Yeah.
more media attention and more, uh,
Yeah.
options. So maybe it's something like that. I don't know. I do think he's going to have a good year. My only concern with him is his health and staying
Yeah.
healthy. I do. Art Ross, maybe, but I just think there's guys that put up more assists than he does. I definitely could see him winning the Richard
Rocket.
Richard Trophy, scoring the most goals in the league for sure. That wouldn't surprise me at all. So it'll be interesting to see. I like Minnesota. We went to a game there last year. It was a great environment, great arena. Um, so I kind of,
Yeah.
I don't have a problem rooting for Minnesota. If the Wings are out of anything, might be my West team. But yeah, so I don't know what his motivation is exactly, but we'll see. Be interesting.
Yes, I am a little curious too because I really don't know, but I like your point about markets because I know Minnesota doesn't like to hear it because they are the biggest hockey fan, the hockey state, and all that crap. But it's like I was born in Minnesota, I love Minnesota, but that's different than the city. If you're a millionaire hockey player and like
Yeah,
things to do and the environment is like the Twin Cities is not Chicago, Toronto, Montreal, New York. It's just different. It's just money's
yeah,
not an issue. You're a gajillionaire, and it's like there's less to do in St. Paul than there
yeah,
is in New York. It's just common sense. And so I look at it and I see there's probably some teams that have the space, probably quite a few with the cap going up, that it's like a team like Boston who was terrible last year. It's like, okay, well, McAvoy got hurt. What's his name? Lindgren got hurt. Like, could Kirill go there and be playing with Pasternak? Like, I don't care who you got. Now you
yeah,
have Swayman played bad last year. Everyone knows he's a good goalie. Like, they could go from crappy to good just overnight. And same
yeah,
thing with Chicago. My nightmare scenario, because as a Wings fan, a true Wings fan, I will always hate the Blackhawks, whether they're good or bad. And it's like, imagine a world where they get last place and they go draft McKenna, who is supposed to be McDavid, right? The kid next
yeah,
draft is supposed to be the next guy. And he ends up getting Kaprizov to go there. Now you're playing in one of the biggest cities in North America. You're a hero. You're a king. The team's horrible. They just signed Spencer Knight today while we're talking. I got an X thing from Elliot
mhm,
Friedman that I don't know if it's done yet, but they're signing Spencer Knight. Then they go get Gavin McKenna, and they've got Kirill Kaprizov, and all of a sudden it's Kane and Taves all over again. And we're back into the Chicago nightmare of being amazing. That's
yeah,
my fear. My hope
yeah.
is that it's the Red Wings. They say, we'll give you 20. Come on over.
I just think he wants to play. I mean, I don't know this. This would just be pure speculation as to why he turned it down. I mean, you can make that money in the NHL, but let's be real. A lot of athletes, not even just in the NHL, but a lot of them make more money on endorsements and different things rather than their earnings from
Yeah.
playing that sport. So if you go to Boston or New York or Vegas or LA or Toronto, you're much more marketable as a player, a person to get those endorsements and those deals. You're playing. Let's be real. The teams that play most on a Sunday, after football season and all that stuff, you're coming home and it's a noon start on a Sunday on NBC. That's
Yep.
broadcasting. It's not on ESPN or a cable thing. It's on. Are your Penguins, Bruins, Rangers, the
Yep.
big market teams. So I just think that he knows that, okay, you sign for 16, Minnesota signs you for 16, that's what you make. Or you go to somewhere else for 15 and then you make another 10 a year on endorsements or something. I mean, just in the long run, I think it probably is better when you're a player like that to,
Yeah, exactly. Well, and
I
then I
don't
know
know.
the tax thing is kind of beating a dead horse, but it does happen. We saw
Yeah.
it just recently with I don't think they're tax free, but what's his name going to Dallas Stars last year.
Rantanen.
Yes, thank you. Ran in, right? And it's like that was a crazy thing. We don't have to relive it all, but then okay,
Well, the Florida Panthers
Marner goes
definitely
to
benefited
Vegas.
from that.
What's that?
Florida Panthers benefit from no state income tax in Florida.
For sure.
Keeping
They can't
Sam
do it
Bennett,
without
Brad
those.
Marchand, you're keeping all
Yep.
those guys. People want to play there. Plus,
And
it's a better. I mean, okay, so that's another thing too. I don't know how much this plays into players' things, but um, it used to be warm weather teams. It was I never rooted for them because I'm like, dude, they haven't paid their dues. They haven't been around long enough. Why would you want to play? They're not steeped in that hockey tradition. Okay, but now there's next generation of players that were born in the '90s that these teams have been around all their lives. They don't maybe they don't necessarily think the same way I do or have the same views, but um,
yeah,
okay, why wouldn't you pick a place where I can go? There's no state income tax. There's a beach. Hey, hockey's played in the wintertime, but guess what? I play in Tampa Bay or I play in Fort Lauderdale. I play in Dallas. I play in Vegas.
yep,
And hey, it's not a blizzard outside in January. It's actually pretty nice and I can still go to the pool and I can still, do things outside rather than you play in Edmonton and there's snow on the ground from November to March, which I
yep,
personally would love.
I would too.
But I'm just saying, as an athlete, with
yeah,
things to do and the popular, places to be and all that stuff, I do think that's starting to play more of a role into guys' decision making, especially if you can make more money off of marketing
yep,
and not just what the team pays you. It used to be that's what you got, that's what you made in a year is what the team paid you. Unless you were a one of the top 10 athletes in your sport, you weren't getting an endorsement, for whatever. So you went to where the money was, or, there was no option, for that. So you didn't care that you were playing in a smaller market team. If you were playing in New York, it wouldn't matter anyway. You weren't good enough to get a deal. Whereas now, there, it's just a bigger presence. A lot of people get endorsements and deals, and, it's just a different animal now than it
yep.
was 20, 30 years ago.
Definitely. And I think exactly what you're saying. There's room where maybe you're not the guy, you're not the face of Nike or whatever. It's like, well, that's going to be an NBA player anyways, probably. But there's
Yeah.
little pockets all over the place where you can find smaller companies or whatever and make money. It's like, Peter Forsberg made a bunch of money off of Crocs, like the shoes Crocs. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
that's just like the most random thing ever. Like all sorts of stuff like that can happen. So
Yeah.
that's a good point. And I think you can even look at teams that aren't necessarily doing super well, and it's still a good point. You look at Nashville, everyone thought would be
Yeah.
decent, and then they wheels fell off. They had huge name superstars go there. It's family friendly. It's low taxes. It's a good environment. It's good weather. And yeah, Tennessee's not hot like how Florida is, but it's like it's much better than Winnipeg or Edmonton's weather.
Yeah.
I think the players want to go where they're going to win, but they also have other factors. Like,
Yeah.
why would I go to Detroit where it's cold and there's high crime rate when I can go to Salt Lake City, I can go to Nashville, I can go to some of those smaller markets that are still awesome. Like even Raleigh is like, they're cool cities that are smaller market that have different benefits than no one wants to go to a bad cold weather climate that also loses.
Yeah.
Right. If you're an original six Red Wings team that's winning, who cares? They want to be in Detroit. If you're not winning, they don't want to go. But if you're in the South where you have good weather and good taxes, you go, well, maybe if I go there, we'll start winning. It's easier
Yeah.
to make the pitch to go to Anaheim. Anaheim's not
Yeah.
good. And you go, look, the future's bright. The weather's beautiful. And you go, oh, yeah, maybe I will move to LA.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
we'll move on from that. This is a good spot I'm going to plug for. This is a commercial break at the 34 mark. We'll be right back. Word from our sponsors.
All right.
Okay, we are back. Eli, I'm going to pass it over to you again, I think, because you have more research than we do. Anything else you've got on that little sheet you want to share with the team?
Yeah, I do. I have a stud here. Chris Kreider. I think he's
Okay.
gonna be a stud this year. Got traded or signed with the Ducks. So he's over there. He's playing on the second line this year. This is where he's slated to start with daily faceoff. But I was looking at his career stats and games that he has played more, or seasons that he has played more than 50 games in. He keeps going up and down with his points. He went 37, 46, 43, 53, 37, 52, 45, 77, 54, 75. Went to 30 last year. So he should go back up this year, is what the data says. And I just think that Anaheim could use a really good goal scorer, which is what Chris Kreider is. He's not a playmaker. He's only had more assists than goals 4 times in his career. And the
That's
last
great.
time was 2018, 2017, 2018 season. Since then, it's
Wow.
always been more goals. So
That's a
I think
pretty
he's gonna
crazy
have,
stat.
yeah, it is. I think he's gonna have a good year there, and I think he's gonna be good for fantasy because I think he's gonna get a lot of power play time as well.
Yeah, he probably will. I think that I got two things real quick before we dive into it. One, what good research that is. Two, completely unplanned. I throw out an example of moving to Anaheim, and we take a commercial break, come right into Chris Kreider getting traded to Anaheim. I
Yeah,
swear, not planned. That we're firing on all cylinders. First episode from the off season. We're killing it. Don't worry about
Uh,
it, Nick. You got to work.
all right.
Eli and I
All
got the
right.
podcast covered. Dude, that's crazy though. More goals and assists for 6 years in a row. Was it 7 years in a row? And it's
like that.
really crazy how his seasons up down every other year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is why I never would have known that. See, that's where we need the real analysis. We need a data guy. That's what Eli's a specialty for that. Okay, I like that though. Any other things on Kreider you got there? Or Nick, you
Uh,
want to jump in?
Not really.
Well, I'll jump in. It'll seem like I'm just copying Eli's answers here, but he was Chris Kreider. Initially, I was going to name my scrub because I thought he was in New York and benefiting from, a lot of talent around him. And then I went and did a little bit of research. I didn't write anything down. It's all up in here. But then I looked at him. Do you know how many assists he had last year versus
No,
goals? He
20.
only had 30 points. He had
Mm-hmm.
30 points.
Yep.
Oh wow, that
He had
look.
22 goals, 8 assists last year.
That's crazy.
So
That's crazy.
initially, I was going to make him a scrub, but I've turned it around, and I do think he's going to be a stud. In part because how I do my analysis is I think this guy probably is going to be available later on in the draft, and I think you're going to get great value for him. Now he's not because the three of us know that he's going to be a stud, and someone's going to draft him, jump on him,
Yeah.
maybe a round or two too early. But I do think he's going to be a stud. He was hurt a lot last year. I think he even had a surgery, battled some vertigo, from what I understand, and so was just off a little bit. And then
Yep.
he was even a healthy scratch for a while. Maybe not all at once, but he was a healthy scratch, kind of bouncing around here and there. I think when they were trying to trade him and different things, um,
Yep.
and and even when you're on the trading block, maybe they're scratching you to keep you healthy so that you're not hurt, so they can get value for you. Maybe he's a healthy scratch because they know when they trade you, this guy's going to be in the lineup, so they want this guy to start getting some playing time, with his new teammates and different things. So I think there were just a lot of things working against him last year. He still managed to score 22 goals. Um, he is on the right now slated for the second line, but on the first power play.
Yeah.
And while I think the Ducks aren't going to be great, someone's going to have to score. Someone's going to have to get points and score the goals for him. So I do love that he's going to have some power play time. only 30 points last year. I could see him easily doubling that this year. You're talking 50, 60 points out of a guy who a few years ago scored 50 goals. I don't think he gets
Right.
50
So he can do
goals,
it.
but I think he could get 25 to 30 goals this year if he stays healthy and plays
Okay.
all year. I don't know how many games he missed last year, but if he stays healthy,
He missed 14 last year.
that's it.
14,
14.
and he got 22. Okay, so plus or minus
Mhm.
30 goals.
All right. Well, we'll see. Maybe 50 points, but that's still almost doubling your 30
Yeah.
points.
Okay, so
So
30
I'm
goals.
calling him a stud because I think you can get good value for where you draft him at.
I agree with that. That's good research, guys. Good opinion, Nick. What do you guys think on 30 goals plus or minus?
I'll say minus. I think he's in the 25,
Okay.
25 to 28.
I think he gets over that. I think he has at least 30 goals this year.
All
Yeah.
right.
So what about 40? Is 42
Stu, you're the
aggressive plus or minus?
tiebreaker.
40, no,
Stu,
not
you're the
40.
tiebreaker.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Eli. I think you guys have convinced me. Both of you have.
Okay.
I think that the Rangers should be a better team, but the wheels fell off last year. Then he's
Yeah.
hurt. Then he does the Four Nations, and not to be too harsh, but I thought that it was kind of crazy to pick someone like Kreider and not take someone like Tage Thompson. So
Yeah.
this year, the team is so young and so talented that having a leader like Kreider, I think it's going to be like, look, I just go out there and take care of business, and he's just going to be a leader and a goal scorer, and that's all he's going to do all year. And I feel like, you look at a team like San Jose, and I think that their vibes are top of the NHL, and their points are the bottom of the
Yeah.
NHL. But both those teams used to be good, right? 15 years ago. I think they're
Yeah.
both kind of coming back. And now you've convinced me. I didn't know all this research. I think Kreider's going to get 36 goals.
Okay.
And I don't know how
And if
many
he
assists.
gets
10.
if he gets 36 goals and 25 assists, there's 60 points,
There's 60 points right there. So that's a big one. I wouldn't have
which is a
realized that
30-point
Kreider.
jump, doubling your point total from last year. New
Okay.
environment. I know that I was kind of down on Marner a little bit with new thing, but sometimes guys like a fresh start.
And yeah, and you know what? The thing with Rangers was that it was like spiraling out of control, and it was like their
Yeah.
team is so good. How are they not winning?
Yeah.
And losing a lot, and one of the best goalies in the league, and losing, and Panarin
Yeah.
doing nothing, and it was just a weird year. So I
And
love
there's more
that.
pressure. Let's be honest. There's more pressure when you're playing for the Rangers at MSG Madison
There
Square
is
Garden, MSG, than going out to Anaheim and playing. You're not supposed. Anaheim's not supposed to be good. So there's not the
exactly,
pressure. You don't get all the media attention nationally that the
yeah,
Rangers do. So I think they'll be
exactly.
all
They
right.
won't get any pressure until the end of the year, where they're going, "Oh wow, it was a really good year, and now who's going to make the playoffs? The Kings or Anaheim?" That no one will pay attention until then, unless you live in California or you're a Ducks fan.
Yeah.
So great research, love that. Nick, do you want to go? Do you have any others that you want to throw out there? Or
I don't. I felt like I
okay,
was kind of piggybacking off of Eli there, but that was one that I thought about. I was, yeah,
that's okay.
that's
No,
probably
that
my
was a
only
good one
stud.
because
I was trying to think, what what do I think John Gibson is going to be? Obviously as a
yeah,
wingspan,
I
what's the
did want to.
wins?
I wanted
I
to do
could
a little
see
legends
him.
on that.
I could see him being a decent. I don't know if he's a full blown stud. I don't think he's a scrub either.
Yeah,
I think Detroit maybe gives him a little more opportunity to win. I think signing him was a good move. It was beneficial for both parties. I think John Gibson's going to have a better year, and I think the Red Wings are going to have a better year. So,
yeah.
but
Okay, I'm gonna piggyback you a little bit there and kind of push a question for the table more.
all
I
right,
think that John Gibson's a big acquisition for the Red Wings. To be honest, I think it's a bigger move than most people are saying, because for 3 years in a row now, the Red Wings should have made the playoffs and didn't. And I am curious of players like Casper kind of came out of nowhere last year and did really, really well. And a player like Comfort had good parts of the year and bad parts of the year. And with the new coach, McCullen, coming in, Comfort played way better under him. And I'm just curious if, like, people stay healthy. Larkin got hurt at the Four Nations. We have the Olympics again this year, so you never know what'll happen. Kane's another year older, but he always plays very well offensively, right? Defense is not his game. And I'm just curious if a player like Raymond can take another step. If a player like Casper has a sophomore slump, or if he continues to take another step. And so I'm curious if one, is Casper a stud who's going to move a step forward because he didn't play the whole year? Or is he going to be maybe not a scrub, but just don't pick him up in fantasy because he's going to take a step backwards sophomore year? That's my question for the Red Wings and for the whole table. Do you think John Gibson is enough? Do the Red Wings make the playoffs this season, yes or no?
Yes. I have to say yes, first of all, but I also would say yes. Okay. I already made my predictions for all the
right.
teams this year. I have the Red Wings in the playoffs. I have them as fifth in the Atlantic.
Well, don't give away too much. We'll save
Okay.
that for another episode.
All right. But I have them in the playoffs.
All right.
And I wrote down Marco Casper here.
Yes.
As a stud this year.
What do you got on him?
Really nothing.
Hit us real quick.
Well, last year he had 37 points. I think this year he has 50 points.
Okay.
I
He's
think
playing
that's
second line with DeBrincat and Kane. I really like him on that line. I think he'll do good. I think he'll get a little bit of power play 2 time. I think he could maybe be good to add probably in fantasy. I don't know that you draft him maybe.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to be a stud this year.
All right. Here's what I'll say to all of that real quick. I do think Casper will have a better year this year than he did last year. I don't know that he's a fantasy relevant player. He probably isn't drafted. And part of that is just because he plays center, right? And we only have 2 center slots. So most teams, you only have 3 centers.
Yes.
So it would be hard to pick him up. I'm not saying that he couldn't be a plug and play guy or, if someone gets hurt and you need a guy to pick up and put in there for you. So I think in real life, he's going to have a better year. But in fantasy, just because he plays that position and how our league is set up, he might not be someone that you is on your team very much. Just more of maybe a plug and play guy if he's got more games that week or something like that. I do also think the Red Wings make the playoffs. Here's my only question with John Gibson. I hope he stays healthy. I know he's had a little bit of injury stuff in the past. I think the biggest thing that he brings to the table, if he can stay healthy, is just stability. So the last few years, the Wings have had decent goalies, but none of them have been like a legit number 1 in the league forever. If you get Mrazek, okay, yes, he's been a number 1 goalie before, but eventually he just kind of evens out to where he was, and he's just a guy that's kind of, can be a starter, but also more of a backup, reliable starter in some spots, different things. Nedeljkovic, same deal. Cam Talbot had what started out as a backup, had a great year in Edmonton, and then just can kind of be up and down. Isn't a bona fide number 1 goalie. Ville Husso, we've had some that have just kind of been whatever. Whereas I think John Gibson can be that bona fide number 1 goalie that you can rely on all the time. And that stability in net, I love. I think that just kind of stabilizes the rest of your team. He's the anchor. If you can trust your goalie and the rest of your team is playing like that and they know that they got confidence in him, he just kind of shores it up a little bit. And I think that allows other players to play a little looser, a little better, a little faster, maybe take another, more chances, because you're more confident in your net. And so I like it. I think that he's going to have a decent year. And I think the Wings are going to finally take a step forward. So I do think the Red Wings make the playoffs, and I do think John Gibson has a good year, and I just think the biggest reason for that is just that he brings stability to the team.
Love it. I love the breakdown. I'm going to agree with both of you on those fronts because I do think John Gibson is underrated, where everyone who pays attention or has played fantasy knows that he's a very good goalie. for 10 years. He's been a very good goalie. His save percentage, I think, don't quote me, is 91% in his career. And he played for some bad Ducks teams.
Yeah.
And Dostal is obviously taking the net from him, and he's much younger. It makes sense if you're the Ducks to move on. But the Red Wings have had good goalies that have outperformed, but pretty much since Jimmy Howard, they haven't had a staple. Like, we can trust no matter what the situation is, this guy's going to play at this level, right? And like you said, someone like a Billy Husso, it was a great experiment and try it out because he is a good goalie, but it just didn't work, right? And same thing with all the goalies. I think that this year it might be optimistic, but I think that Edvinsson takes a little step better. Casper takes a little step better. Raymond takes a little step better. And then John Gibson is just a little bit better than the consistency. He can steal you between 2 and 5 games out of 80, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, sure. I know he's only going to play 40 or 50, but like he can steal 3 games, right? If Raymond gets a hat trick once, he steals a game. If Edvinsson helps Seider shut down the number 1 line one time, like that's how close the Red Wings have been. And the best example I think is Ottawa getting Ullmark. Right now, today, Ullmark is a better goalie than Gibson. But Gibson is that caliber of a goalie in the past. He has been that
He's
good.
proven
where
it.
he's letting in, he's a total stud. So that's my thing, is can those acquisitions of your people in your pipeline just naturally getting a little bit better and getting 5 more points than they did last year, and then your goalie just stealing you 2 or 3 games? That's 6 points. That might be enough where it's Columbus, Montreal, Red Wings, Boston, whatever. We're all kind of fighting Rangers. Who's going to make it? And I do think that the Red Wings are going to make the playoffs, partially cynically, because it's like, this is the best draft. This would be the year to be horrible. And they're going to take the step and sneak in, and they're going to get the 8 seed. And it's just going to be like, dang it. That's when you should have been bad. But you never know with the Olympics. There's a lot of players, we've got Seider going to play for for Germany and stuff like that. And there's a lot more teams in the Olympics. There is a chance, I hope not, that somebody gets hurt, and the Red Wings aren't very deep. So if they lose Raymond, a Seider, a Gibson, or a Larkin, the wheels fall off pretty quick. Yeah. And so I think if we're healthy, the Wings can sneak in. I'm a little... Our division's a little weird, right? I don't quite know with my brain versus my heart how can they leapfrog Montreal and Ottawa, but I think Montreal outperformed last year. I think that they're a very good team that will continue to go up, but next year I think they're going to do a step back. I think that Columbus will do a step back, and I think that Boston and New York will do a step up. So I think there's room for the Red Wings to sneak in as a wild card. So I think all 3 of us have them making the playoffs. We're getting close to our hour mark, so I think we'll probably just end it there. I'll do one more stud with the Red Wings is Raymond. I think Raymond's going to go up a little bit. He'll get his career high. I think that he is over a point per game player, and he needs to break out of his shell. Not 100% sure about next year, but I'm thinking he's more in the 90-point mark next year. He's going to go over a point a game. So and he gets a lot of goals, and he plays every power play. And the Red Wings power play, I think, was number 2 in the NHL under Todd McCullough, only behind the Oilers, I think. Pretty sure. So look for the Red Wings power play points, look for Raymond as your stud, and they're going to sneak into the playoffs this year. That's what we got. Anything else to wrap up with? We got about 5 minutes here.
I'm going to win fantasy this year.
You're going to win fantasy?
He's doing a lot of talking. I will say there is no reason that he should not make a deep playoff run, but fantasy sometimes is a lot of luck. A guy gets hurt, breakout star, you never know. Right. Yeah. So we'll see. He definitely odds are in his favor to make a deep run.
We allow to trade draft picks for next season. So Eli last year traded most of his top players for draft picks. So this upcoming year, this podcast coming out, Eli is positioned to be better than everybody by a pretty big margin. So we'll see how that goes.
Very large. A 9-round margin.
We'll see.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, if we don't have anything else, then I guess we'll just sign off. Everyone has your coffee. Let's go Red Wings. And
All right.
keep your stick on the ice.
Make him make the first move, Conway.
I don't have anything.
He'll work on that. He'll come up with something.
We'll work on it. That's okay.
All right.
All right, guys.
See you
Thanks.
guys.